Hey everyone, Kyle Walker here. If you love cars, fixing things, or just want to understand your vehicle better, you're in the right place. I share hands-on tips, smart driving advice, and straight-up car talk without the fluff. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around till the end. You don't want to miss what's coming up. Let's get into it.
The terminals in the car battery are a connecting link between the onboard network and the electrodes of the battery. Violation of conductivity, caused by defects in the contact group, affects the condition of these contacts. They begin to heat up, which can cause melting of terminals or wiring. Therefore, their condition should be monitored and faults should be repaired in time. Today we will talk about replacing the terminals, and this is a non-trivial operation. Why the battery terminals are destroyed. To ensure two directly opposite tasks. To use a material with excellent conductivity, soft, and at the same time not subject to deformation. During frequent clamping/release, terminals are made of appropriate metals or alloys, copper, brass, lead, aluminum. With the function of tight fitting of the terminal leads of the battery, they cope perfectly, but frequent removals inevitably lead to the development of seating sockets, on which there are cracks. Thread deterioration occurs. As a result, it becomes more and more difficult to tighten the contact each time. It is necessary to apply more effort, because of which the destruction of the terminals only increases. If the connection is over-tightened, it is even possible to break the hinge, so such enthusiasm is generally not welcome. On the other hand, a weak, not fully tightened contact leads to the appearance of sparking while the car is moving, to the heating of the contact group and deformation of its elements. Overcharging the battery when charging by an external charger or generator leads to boiling of the electrolyte. The electrolyte may spill out through holes in the plugs or cracks, often formed at the base of the electrode pins. Once on the terminals, these acidic aerosols form a precipitate on their surfaces that has a characteristic whitish or lettuce color. This leads to further destruction of the metal of the terminals. It is no coincidence that battery maintenance recommendations require that terminals be inspected regularly and cleaned of deposits and contaminants. Acidic residues are well removed with baking soda, which is an ideal antagonist solvent. Damaged battery terminals should be replaced immediately. Failure to do so may result in the following consequences. The battery will discharge rapidly due to the presence of leakage currents. The starter will not operate properly when the engine is started. Oxidation of terminals is a frequent cause of undercharging the battery while the car is moving. Poor contact causes increased electrical load on high-voltage wires due to deformed terminals in the onboard network can cause voltage surges that can destroy the equipment of the car. Read also how the weight of the battery depends on its capacity. Deformed, destroyed, non-reparable battery terminals must be replaced. To begin with, it is necessary to purchase a suitable replacement product whose diameter of the cable hole should be equal to the cross-section of the high-voltage wire. It is also important that the inner diameter of the hinge corresponds to the size of the battery terminal pin. That is, when it is tightened tightly on the pin, there is a gap of 4 to 5 millimeters between the ends of the hinge. It is desirable to include a protective cover for the positive terminal to protect it from moisture and dirt. In what order to disconnect the wires when removing the battery? Repair of the terminals requires dismantling the battery. First of all, the negative terminal is loosened and reset. This order allows you to protect the onboard network from accidental short circuits, which are possible when removing the plus contact first. Repairing the terminals when the battery is in the engine compartment is not a good idea. There is simply no space for it, and the risk of damaging the equipment located nearby is high. So remove the battery and put it aside. The minus cable can also be removed. It is bolted to the engine compartment body. This is not possible with the positive cable, so the terminal must be disconnected on site. The method of attachment to the cable is different. If it is a bolt clamp, the task is simplified. Otherwise, most likely, the wire will have to be cut. If the length of the remaining part will not be enough, you can use a special terminal with a built-in voltage sensor, which is longer than the usual one by the required 5 to 8 centimeters. As a last resort, the cable can be extended with a wire of the same cross-section. Before starting the repair, make sure that the insulation of the wires is intact. Clean the surface of the terminal leads from oxides. and contaminants with coarse-grained sandpaper, a metal brush, or a file. Algorithm of battery terminals replacement. Repair work should be carried out in a heated room. If you do not comply with this requirement, the cable insulation becomes stiff and brittle in the cold, increasing the likelihood of accidental damage. Read also, ways to check glow plugs on cars. From the tools and materials we need: pliers, a flathead screwdriver, and a set of keys. A stationary knife, most likely, it will be necessary to cut the insulation, and sandpaper for cleaning the contacts. When purchasing a set of terminals, note that most batteries have different diameters for the plus and minus pins. If the terminal is stretched, it can be repaired by using a copper sleeve of the appropriate diameter. It is carefully put on the terminal lead of the battery, and a wire equipped with a special switching nozzle is attached from above. True, such a solution cannot be called permanent. The deformed wall of the contact sooner or later destroys definitively. Replacing the battery plus terminal. Dismantle the terminal contact from the cable. Usually it is fixed with bolts or bolted clamps. It is recommended to cut the wire only if there are fasteners that do not allow disassembly. If the bolt connection is sour, it is treated with WD liquid to disconnect the fastening clamp with a screwdriver, carefully so as not to damage the wire itself. The bare part of the wire is carefully inspected. If the length of the metal core is not enough for reliable fastening, cut off the excess insulation with a stationary knife. It is desirable not to overdo it. It is recommended to sandpaper bare metal cores to remove protective varnish or traces of oxidation. If sandpaper or other abrasive material does not help, you can try to remove the rust with a special converter and try again. Some models use fully molded terminals, in which the cable is cast directly into the metal of the contact in the factory version. Here you cannot do without cutting the wire, for which it is best to use a metal hacksaw with a blade with small teeth. If, as a result, the cable length is not long enough, it must be extended with the same wire. Installation of the new terminal should not be difficult. It usually has a bolted cable fastener. If after replacing the positive battery terminal the expected effect is not observed, it is likely that the minus terminal will have to be changed as well. On some models, additional equipment or wires are connected to the contact group. It is necessary to check their condition for defects and damage and, if necessary, replace them. In conclusion, changing faulty battery terminals is a straightforward task that can save you both time and money. By following the steps we've outlined, you can ensure a secure connection and improve the overall performance of your vehicle's electrical system. Remember to always prioritize safety by wearing protective gear and disconnecting the battery before starting any work. With a little patience and the right tools, you can tackle this job with confidence. Thank you for watching, and we hope you found this guide helpful.